I have some really fun knitting to share today. A finished cable sweater that I am over the moon about, a cute pair of socks with a few thoughts attached, a work in progress that I love more than expected, and a little peek at my next cast on for Christmas. So get comfy and let's dive in. Hi guys, and welcome to episode 18 of my knitting podcast. My name is Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu. I post regular podcast episodes here on the channel every 2 weeks, where I chat about all the projects I'm working on and my plans for the near future. But before we get too far, I also wanted to say thank you for all the love on last week's video. I shared 14 of my go-to knitting tricks for making sweaters look neat and polished, and I have been really enjoying the comments. Brilliant tricks are being shared and it is making me very happy. If you missed that video and you like knitting sweaters, I think you will enjoy that one too. It is linked down below in case you want to check it out. But let's start today's episode of the podcast. And we will start with the sweater that has completely taken over my knitting brain, I would say. It is covered in cables. It turned out exactly how I hoped, which feels like a huge win. I just took it out of my blocking mats and I cannot wait to wear it. I love the texture, the colors, the fabric, all of it. So let me introduce you to my sweater number 15 by my favorite things. First of all, before I forget, last episode I said I was knitting size medium, but I was wrong. This is size small because I didn't want as much positive ease as the pattern recommends. I have around 15 centimeters of positive ease with this one, so I'm knitting size small. I just wanted to clarify that before I make the same mistake again. And the yarn I used for this project is two new to me yarns, now not so new to me, I would say. The first one, my main yarn, is Rosa Pomar Mondim in the colorway C582. This is a lovely coppery color, medium brown shade, and I paired it with one strand of 100% lace weight alpaca. This is Isaiah Alpaca 1 in the colorway 33, which is a what? Burnt orange, something like that. And this is the combo I had. I loved these two yarns and I want to use them more. I want to make other projects using these two yarns. This Mondim one, this Rosa Pomar Mondim, it has so many great, pretty, beautiful colorways. So I want to make something using other colorways. I don't know what, I have nothing in mind right now. I just know I want to use these two yarns more. But I already talked about the size I'm knitting, and I'm looking at the viewfinder and I think I got carried away when I was working on the sleeves because they don't even fit into the frame. I can see here it is missing the rib. Let me see. Yeah, it is missing a little bit of the sleeves. I knitted really long and cozy sleeves, which is what I really like when I'm knitting sweaters. And this is why I love making my own sweaters so much. I really love really long sleeves like I do with this sweater here that I'm wearing right now. I like to tuck them under my fingers like this. I don't know how to describe this. But I like doing this with my sweaters. I feel really cozy and really comfortable when I do this. And I think I have the same thing with this new sweater of mine. And I also needed a little bit extra length than what the pattern recommends. Just what? I think 5 centimeters or so, but on the sleeves it's more like 7 centimeters extra length, I mean. But I'm really happy with the fit. I love the fabric. It is really drapey after it has been blocked. I did a full wet block using a little bit of wool wash, laid it flat to dry, all those things, and I really love the fabric now. It is drapey, but not so much to make it look weird because of the texture, but at the same time it is drapey enough to provide a really good fit. I will try this on in a little bit so you guys can see all the details and how it fits me and everything. But I really love this fabric. It is not too dense, so I think it would be perfect to wear during fall and maybe spring next year. So I'm really excited to have this ready to wear in my wardrobe. And in fact, I know I'm going to wear this tomorrow. So I'm really excited for that. And if I notice anything different than what I'm saying today, I will report back in next episode of the podcast. But this is what I have so far. And I did a 1x1 twisted rib, like the pattern recommends, on the hem, cuff, and collar, and finished it off with a Italian bind off with a little tweak for twisted rib, which I shared in my go-to knitting tricks video that I just mentioned. But anyway, this is it. This is the bind off, really stretchy, loved it. Since last podcast episode, I just had to knit both sleeves, which I did. I love the fit of the sleeves. It is, let me turn it to the side, I think I can show you better. With the light hitting the sleeves this way, I think it really shows the cable pattern really nicely. And this is a straight sleeve, no decreases, so a little bit boxy, I would say. I didn't change the size for the sleeves. Sometimes I like to knit one size for the body and a bigger size or a larger size, I would say, for the sleeves, but this time I just followed size small also for the sleeves, and I am really happy with the fit, the length. I love the way the cables look with this yarn. Let me see if I can show you up close. I hope you can see. I love these colors. I love this coppery color shade. It is so gorgeous. Let me show you the back. Oh, I'm so in love with this sweater. I love the fabric. I love the fit of the color. I love this little detail here at the shoulder. Right now you can't really see it, but when I try it on, I will come up with a way to showcase this detail. And I love the fit of the collar. It is not too open. It is not too next to my neck, which is the problem that I'm noticing with this sweater that I'm wearing today. This is the Belle and Sebastian by Sour Nordland, and I am noticing the collar is maybe too close to my neck for my liking, but I don't know, and it's almost vertical, isn't it? Let me turn to the side. I am noticing this as I wear this sweater. But anyway, I am getting off on a tangent. We are talking about my sweater number 15, and I so wish I had cast this on sooner. For those of you who didn't watch my first podcast episode where I mentioned this sweater, was what, 2 or 3 episodes ago, and this is one of my dream sweaters or my dream projects or cast on, and I am so happy I decided to finally cast it on, and now I wish I had cast it on sooner because I loved the process of working on this sweater. I put it off casting on this sweater for so long, for over a year I would say, and that was because of this cable, because it is all over cable and it's always the same cable. So I always thought, oh, this will become like a slog to finish. I will lose steam and then I won't want to work on this sweater anymore, but I will want to have the finished object. So it would become a product knit instead of a process knit. And I really like combining those two. I don't like to knit something just for the sake of having the finished object. I also want to enjoy the process of making it. But I am happy to report this was both a process and a product knit, which makes me really, really happy. I think it's obvious by now that I love this sweater so much. So this is it. This is my sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things, and I love it so much. So now let's talk about the amount of yarn I've used and the cost for this project. I have my notebook here with me, otherwise I wouldn't be able to remember all those numbers. So let's talk about yarn amounts first. For my main yarn, this Rosa Pomar Mondim, this is 100% Portuguese wool, isn't it? Yeah, 100% Portuguese wool fingering weight, and I've used 345 grams of this yarn. The pattern recommends 300 grams, so I've used almost like half a bowl more. This bowl comes in 100 grams, isn't it? Yeah, 100 grams. So I used half a bowl more than what the pattern recommends, but I added length to both body and sleeve, so maybe that makes sense. Anyway, I've used a little bit more, and for my second yarn, this is a alpaca one, 100% alpaca lace weight. I've used 184 grams. The pattern recommends 175 grams of knitting from olive mohair, and this is 100% alpaca, lace weight alpaca. So take that into consideration. But like I said, I lengthened the body and sleeves, so I've used a little bit more, around 10 or 9 grams more than what the pattern recommends. But now I have one ball of each yarn and a little bit more actually. This was the ball I was working on when I finished my second sleeve. So now I have a little bit more, like a ball and a half of each yarn, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with it. But I loved this yarn so much that I'm not worried about it, about having this as a leftover, this odd amount as a leftover. I'm sure I will come up with something to use this, and maybe combining that with other colorways. I don't know, I have no idea, but I love this yarn so much. I'm actually happy that I have some leftover to knit up something else. Now talking about cost, I've paid what? Let me check my notes. I've paid 72 euros and 89 cents for the yarn. That only takes into consideration the amount of yarn I've used to knit up my sweater number 15. That does not take into account my leftovers. The cost of my leftovers will go towards another project. And I've paid for the pattern, which cost me 7 euros and 95 cents. So in total, this project cost me 80 euros and 84 cents. And I am so happy with the price point of this sweater. Of course, it could be lower, but I really love this. I am sure I'm going to wear this a ton. And well, if I do say so myself, I really think this sweater has a store-bought look, not only because of the cables, but I really think the finishing touches make a lot of difference. I love this little detail here at the back, which you'll be able to see better when I try it on. If I haven't showed that below already. I think I probably have by now, but anyway, I love the way the sleeve meets the body here. It really has a really polished and neat look. I love all the little details and the straight sleeves. Maybe the dropped shoulder all over cable, always the same cable. I think that's why this sweater looks store-bought in my opinion. I don't think it's because of anything I did particularly. I think it's because of the whole look, I would say, of this pattern and this sweater. I think it's more because it's all over cable and always the same cable. I think I'm associating that with those sweaters we always see online, and they always look like this. But anyway, I am talking way too much about this sweater, so now let's change it up. My sweater number 15 is going to wait until tomorrow to have its first time in the spotlight when I go out. But let's talk about my second finished object of today's video, because there's been a long time since this channel has seen a finished object. And I finished my pair of socks I have here with me. This is the Cuff Club Volume, and I'm missing one foot. This is the Cuff Club Volume 1 pattern by Summer Lee. I've talked about this pattern many times now. This is sort of like, well, you purchase the pattern and then each month you get a different chart for the cuff. And so at the end of 1 year or 12 months, you get around 12 motifs, different chart motifs for the cuff that you can mix and match with the base pattern you also get when you purchase the pattern. And then, well, you can basically knit an entire drawer full of colorful socks. So this time I just used the base pattern I wanted to play around with the base pattern and add some stripes. I didn't want to knit any, well, color work motif for the cuff this time. This is my second pair of socks, so I just wanted to play around a little bit, and I already have some thoughts. When I finished my first pair of socks, this is the January chart of the Cuff Club Volume 1. I really love this little wavy motif here at the cuff. But when I finished this pair of socks, I really thought I had a good recipe, let's say, in terms of stitch counts for my feet. And I was really happy with this. I still am really happy with this, but it was like, it's too easy, you know? People are always talking about knitting many different pair of socks until they can finally figure out the right stitch counts for each section of the sock. And at first I thought I had nailed on a good recipe for my pair of socks, my perfect fit pair of socks. And it was like, it's too easy. I can't have figured it out on my first pair of socks. There has to be something wrong, and I just don't know what it is yet. And I'm thinking I'm starting to figure it out because I have some thoughts on this new pair of socks. But now I realize I forgot to share the yarn I used for these socks. And let me get it here. The yarn I used is, well, I used 3 different colors. I used 2 different colorways of these Lana Grossa vintage socks. I just have these 2 balls, so they are my leftovers. I don't have any new balls to show you, and I just dropped the orange one. Right, I'm back. Like I was saying, I am using Lana Grossa vintage socks. I have 2 different colorways. This orange one is colorway 1012, and the pink one is colorway 1009. Lana Grossa vintage socks, colorway 1009. I love these 2 colorways together, and I paired it with what? Filcolana Aveta in the colorway 379 Sprout. I love this, what, lime green? I am terrible at describing colors. So always take my color descriptions with a grain of salt, but what, lime green? Oh, I don't know how to describe this. This is a lovely green, and I love this colorway. And this is the colors I had for my new pair of socks. Loved it. The same 3 colors I've used for my first pair of socks, the January chart, and now I don't know where my socks are. Okay, they're here. But this time around, I wanted to play with a short row heel because I found out I don't actually like the process of working on a heel flapping gusset. I wanted to add some stripes to make it more fun and all of that. So let me show you. Oh, I still have a stitch marker here. Let me remove that. But this is my sock. I don't have a sock blocker, so this is the best thing I can do, I think. I don't really know how to hold a sock in front of the camera. But this is it. I just did a contrasting heel and toe, kept the stripe pattern when I was working on a 2x1 rib. This is what? A 5-row stripe. Yeah, I really loved it. It is a soft contrast between the orange and pink colorways, but I really loved the boldness, I would say. For me, this is pretty bold, of the contrasting heel and toe. Oh, I loved it. But now let's go to my thoughts, because I have many. First of all, I think my socks are too baggy. I don't know what's the right fit for a sock. At first, when I was working on my first pair of socks, I thought the right fit was having around 2 centimeters of negative ease. And this is what I have with this sock. I have exactly 2 centimeters of negative ease. But now I think they are maybe too baggy, because I am looking into some sock blockers online. I don't actually know if I want to purchase a sock blocker at this moment or not. I think I will wait a little bit more till I'm actually sure I will keep on working on socks on the regular. I don't want to buy a sock blocker and then just use it as a decor in my background. I don't want to do that. So I will wait a little bit more, but I was looking into different sock blockers, but I saw a ad online of a set of sock blockers, and they had the dimensions for each section of the sock blocker. So I would say the width of the leg here and this diagonal here. I think this is called the instep dimension here, and also the width of the foot of the sock, the length obviously, and all of that. So I measured the width of the foot here and compared that, I compared the width of my foot of this sock here with the dimensions the sock blockers had, and my socks are bigger than or wider than the sock blockers. And even the extra large sock blocker size, my sock is around half a centimeter or 1 centimeter, now I don't remember exactly, wider than the sock blocker. and this is for a extra large sock blocker. I'm not a tall person. Just for reference, I am 5'6", so I'm not really tall. I definitely don't have extra large feet. So my socks shouldn't be bigger than an extra large sock blocker. So I think I'm doing something wrong with my socks. Are my socks too baggy? I'm starting to think they are. Oh, I'm starting to think I have no idea what I'm doing when I'm knitting socks. But anyway, when I try it on, it fits pretty good. They aren't too snug, obviously, but like I said, I have around 2 centimeters of negative ease, and I thought this was a good amount of negative ease to have, but now I'm starting to think I should have more negative ease than 2 centimeters. Maybe what, 3-4 centimeters of negative ease? I don't know. If you're used to knitting socks, could you please share your insights? Because I don't know what I'm doing. They fit pretty good, they are quite comfortable, and I think they don't really bother me. This may be possibly too baggy pair of socks, because my idea for my hand knit socks is not to wear them inside of a shoe and to go outside and things like that. I just want to wear them around the house, maybe with a pair of slippers, just to feel really cozy when I am at home, or maybe wear it with a pair of Birkenstocks and things like that, but definitely not a regular shoe use. So maybe that's why a baggy sock hasn't, well, really bothered me, at least until now. I don't know. I'm just sharing my thoughts. And if you could please share your knowledge on sock knitting, I would highly appreciate. Now, talking about the process and everything, I really like the stripes. They are a softer contrast than what I would go for. Let me show you up close. A softer contrast than what I would go for a garment, but I really like it. I think I would like this sock more if it had a higher contrast between the pink and orange colorways, but I still really like it. And now, talking about the yarn really quick, this is my first time using Filcolana Arveta, and also my first time using this Lana Grossa vintage sock. And I think you can already tell by now that I have almost zero experience with sock yarn and sock knitting. So this Lana Grossa vintage socks is pretty soft. I really love the touch of this yarn, and I really love it knitted up. But this Filcolana Arveta, it's not as soft. It is still pretty comfortable and still pretty lovely next to skin, but it's not as soft as these vintage socks. And both yarns are just this Lana Grossa vintage socks is 75% merino, 25% polyamide, and Arveta is 80% wool and 20% nylon. Yeah, so this isn't merino, so maybe that's why this isn't as soft as this vintage socks yarn. Yeah, maybe that makes sense, but it is not as soft. I didn't get any difference in gauge or anything, but when I touch my sock, I can clearly feel this Filcolana Arveta is not as soft as the rest of my sock. But now I think it makes sense because one is merino and the other one is virgin wool. So yeah, makes sense. But anyway, like I said, I wanted to experiment with short row heel. So I did a heel flap. No, so I did a shadow wrap short row heel, and I loved the process and the fit of this shadow wrap short row heel. Let me show you up close. Both sides are symmetrical, which is really important for my detail-oriented brain. I really love the fit. Now there's one thing I can't wrap my head around when I compared both of my pair of socks. This is my most recent pair of socks. This has a shadow wrap short row heel. I always forget the name. A short row heel, and my first pair has a heel flap and gusset. I've used the same yarn, the same needles, everything was the same. Stitch count, everything was exactly the same. I just changed the heel construction, and my heel flap and gusset sock has 10 rows more than my short row heel sock. And that doesn't make any sense to me because I have the same gauge, I have everything is the same. And if I put them both next to each other, and one has 10 rows more and they have the same length. So what is happening here? I have no idea. I'm talking about the foot length, just to be clear. It makes no sense to me. When I'm counting rows from the edge here of the short row heel all the way to the beginning here, the start of my toe, I have X number of rows, and doing the same thing here when I started the gusset all the way to where I started the toe, I have 10 rows more with this pair of socks. And they fit the same, they're exactly the same. What is happening? In my mind, they should have the same number of rows on the foot, but they don't. Why? Why? Clearly there's something wrong with my logic here, but I don't know what is wrong. But this is it. And I am a recently converted sock knitter, but I won't lie. I like knitting socks. I found out during the summer that I like really, and now that the sun is hitting me, I can see the sun here, but anyway, I just found out over the summer that I actually enjoy knitting socks, but it isn't as exciting as knitting sweaters. I won't lie. Sweaters are way more exciting for my knitting brain, and well, I just love knitting sweaters and I like, I would say, knitting socks. But this is it. Now let's talk about cost and the amount of yarn I've used. I always do this for my finished objects. So for the pink yarn here, let me get my free yarns. For my pink yarn, I've used 28 grams. For the orange one, I've used 25 grams. Just because of the yarn I chose to cast on my sock. It's also the same yarn I used for the last stripe. So I've used a little bit more of my pink yarn. So 28 grams of the pink one, 25 grams of the orange one, and I don't remember the number of my green colorway. 14.5 grams of this Filcolana Arveta, which I only used for the toe and the shadow wrap short row heel. I almost forgot it again. I've used just a little bit less than 4 grams for each section of this green yarn. So for one heel and for one toe, I've used just a little bit less than 4 grams for each. And I don't know why I closed my notebook, because we still have to talk about the cost. So I didn't actually pay for the yarn because this is a leftover yarn that I had from my first pair of socks. But as always, since it's a leftover, I always have to take into account how much yarn I've used to knit up my new pair of socks. So doing a little bit of math, I would have paid around €9 to knit up this pair of socks, this striped pair of socks here. And for the pattern, like I said, I just used the base pattern of the Cuff Club Volume 1. So at the time I knitted my first pair of socks, I've paid €15.98. Let's say you get 12 motifs, so each motif would cost around €1.33. So adding yarn and pattern, this pair of socks cost me, or would have cost me, €10.33. And I think this is pretty good for a hand knit pair of socks. But now I think I have to tweak my stitch counts a little bit. Not on the leg, I'm pretty happy with the fit of the leg, but I think I have to maybe decrease a little bit, do a little bit of gusset decreases here, a few gusset decreases. I don't know what I have to do, but I think they're probably too baggy for a hand knit pair of socks. Now enough about the socks, and let's talk about my one and only work in progress of today's video. And I am so excited to have it finished and ready to wear during fall. Oh, it is making me so excited. But without further ado, let's see my progress on my late summer wrap. This is a pattern by Pernille Larsen, and if you see where I was last time I shared this project with you, which was here, you can see not much happened. But, well, I had my mind on finishing my sweater number 15, and then my focus became finishing my sock, my second sock. So yeah, not much knitting time has gone into this project, but I think I finished the body. So that's a milestone. I think actually, well, let's be honest, I think I finished the body. I am not entirely sure because I don't know the final length I want for this project. Because, first of all, it's hard to tell. This is a wrap, which means it's basically a cardigan. So it is open here. I have a ton of stitch markers to hold everything in place to make things easier to show you guys. But I think I have the right thing going on here. But since this is a wrap and I still don't have the ties to close everything up when I try it on, I don't really know the length I want for this because I want to be able to wear this as a sweater sometimes, or like a sweater sometimes, with a tee underneath. So for that, I think I would probably want something a little bit longer in terms of body length. But I also want to be able to wear this as a, what? A blouse? I don't really know how to call this. Without anything underneath. That's why I wanted a little bit more coverage around my bust area to, well, I don't want to have much cleavage. So this is what I have. And I think I accomplished the coverage side of this garment because I am pretty happy with the amount of coverage I have when I try it on, which I will add as a B-roll because I don't think I have the skills to try it on and talk with you guys at the same time. But anyway, talking about the fit, I am pretty happy with it. I am pretty happy with the circumference of the body circumference. I'm not really sure when it comes to the length because let's say it is a blouse. I want something a little bit shorter than what I usually want for a sweater length. But then when I want to wear it as a sweater, then I want it a little bit, well, longer in terms of body length. So I don't know what I want for the length of the body. I think I am at a good like midway point. For a sweater, I like to have around 56 or 57 centimeters of length, going all the way from the top of the shoulder to the, well, the bind off of the hem, around 56 or 57 centimeters. And I'm thinking about shortening it by 3 centimeters. So that would mean 53, 54, let's say it's 53 centimeters of length. But I still have to add the band here at the end of the body, which is actually the tie that is going to make this whole thing look like a proper wrap. And the band has a 3 centimeter width because it goes horizontally here around the body. So it has a 3 centimeter width. So that would mean I should have around 50 centimeters of length now. And this is what I have. So I think I have a finished body. I don't know. Remains to be seen. But for now, I think this is it. I finished my current ball of yarn for both of my yarns, and I realized I forgot to share the yarn I'm using for this project. I'm using the recommended yarn, Knitting for Olive Merino in the colorway Claret, which is a lovely dark red, I would say. And I'm pairing it with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Plum Rose, which is a lovely blush pink. So this is the combo I have. I am really happy with it. I love these two yarns. This is my first time doing a Knitting for Olive combo and I am absolutely in love with the fabric. But going back to the fit a little bit, I think I have the right length. I don't know. I finished my 2 balls of yarn for the body. I don't plan on actually adding the tie now. I think I want to, well, this is my plan, at least for now. I want to work on both sleeves and finish the sleeves, have like a finished garment of sorts, so I can see how everything is looking, the fit and everything, at least as best as I can in terms of fit, because I don't think you can actually tell how this is going to look until it is tied at the back. But the way the tie is done is you cast on stitches for the tie, knit a good length of tie, like separately, and then you start attaching it to the stitches on the body, like a regular button band for a cardigan. And then once you're done incorporating the stitches on the body, you knit the other half of the tie. So I want to have a finished body and finished sleeves and everything before I knit the tie, and then I can try it on. Just hold the first section of the tie, which is done separately, in front of me when I look in the mirror, and see if I'm happy with the length of the body, or if I want to add or remove a couple of rows. This is where my mind is going right now, so this is my idea for this wrap. But I don't know if the sleeves are tapered or if they are like straight down. I think they are tapered. It would make sense to have tapered sleeves for this project. And let me show you the back, because now I realize I still haven't showed you the back. But this is it. This is just stock net fabric. And I am doing a knit as you go double knit band. So I will obviously do the same thing for the tie. I will need a double knit band, just like a cardigan double knit button band. And my little trick for the double knit band, knit as you go double knit band, it is still working. I'm doing the same thing. I think my band is slightly shorter, like lengthwise. I think the band is slightly, just a tiny smidge shorter than the body, which is, I think, perfect, because then when I tie it on at the back, I think this will pull down my band a little bit, and therefore provide a better fit. This is what I'm thinking. I don't know if what I'm saying is right or not, but I was worried because since I am using the same needle size for everything, including the double knit band, that this band would maybe flare out a bit over time, or be like maybe too loose, I would say. So if the band is slightly shorter in terms of length than the body, when I tie it on at the back, it will pull it down a little bit. So then it would be straight. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But I think it is working. I'm really happy with it. I will try it on, like I said, if I haven't showed you guys already. But this is it. I love the coverage here. I didn't want to have more cleavage than a regular V-neck t-shirt has. So I decided to start my rapid increases for the body here a little bit sooner. This is where is my orange marker? Here. This is where the pattern has you start increasing more rapidly, but instead of starting here, I decided to start increasing more rapidly here. So what, 10 centimeters, 7 centimeters sooner or higher, so I have more coverage around my bust area, and I'm pretty happy with this decision. And I also found out that I love the fit of this V-neck. This is a narrow but deep V-neck, not too deep. It looks so good. I was used to, until now at least, to a wider, I would say, V-neck like this, or maybe not, and maybe not so deep, but this one is pretty narrow and deep, and I love the fit, I love the look, and I just found out, I prefer a narrow and deep V-neck than a wider one. Yeah, just for reference in the future. And I'm absolutely in love with this. Last week was actually my birthday, so I didn't have much time to dedicate to my knitting projects. So that's why this project hasn't seen much, well, attention or action. But this is going to change. This is going to be my main focus over the next 2 weeks. I want to finish both sleeves. Let's see if I can get it done. But my goal for next podcast is to have both sleeves finished, and then I can think more, well, then I will have more information to think about the ties, but this is my plan for now. And I just realized I forgot to say something about the fit of the upper body of this wrap, because I made quite a few modifications to the yoke, let's say, of this cardigan. I separated for the sleeves sooner, don't have as many stitches for the sleeves as the pattern recommends. I made quite a few modifications to this yoke that I shared last episode, and I just wanted to say that I'm really, really happy with the fit of the yoke. I think this is actually the best fitting garment I have knitted so far, which is something I totally wasn't expecting because this is a cardigan. I didn't have high expectations when I cast this on. This is a project I wanted to knit for quite a while now, but I always put it off because I was always worried about the fit of a wrap around the bust area, because usually when I wear a wrap like this, the two sides here, the fronts, they always come right under my bust. I don't know, this area here grabs too much attention when I'm looking in the mirror, so I was worried about the fit. I put it off for a really long time, but I really wanted to have a wrap, a hand knit wrap. So I'm really glad I decided to cast it on and take this adventure because I am really, really loving the fit. Like I said, I think this is my best fitting garment so far. It is maybe too soon to say because I still don't have the sleeves, which can impact the fit of the yoke, I would say, but so far so good. I'm really happy with it. I don't have any excess of fabric here next to my armpit, like here I don't have this thing going on here, and I'm really happy with it, like I said many times, but now I can say this is my late summer wrap. Alright, and those are all the projects I worked on over the course of the last 2 weeks, and now I have my eyes on a new sweater, obviously. So I want to cast on my Christmas sweater. I've already talked about this in my fall knitting plans video, but I think it's time to cast on my Christmas sweater because I want to have enough time to work on it and frog it if anything goes wrong. So I think it's time to cast on my Christmas sweater. I also want to cast on some accessories to have them ready to wear when it's cold outside, when it's really cold outside. But I think my next cast on is going to be my Christmas sweater. I'm thinking about the Leon sweater by PetiteKnit. And the yarn I have in mind is two new to me yarns actually. This is Rowan Norwegian wool, 100% Norwegian wool. I have two different colorways because, yes, it is a striped pattern. I have a thing for stripes. I think it's pretty clear by now. But I couldn't help myself and I'm going to need another striped sweater. So bear with me, but I'm really excited for this. I was talking about the yarn, so my first colorway is Rowan Norwegian wool, like I said. This is colorway, this is what, a wine color? This is colorway 23, red velvet. And I'm going to pair it with this really bright red, colorway 18, ribbon red. And this yarn, this colorway, is a little bit out of my comfort zone, I would say. This is really bright. I'm not used to knitting with so bright colors, but I think this dark red, this wine colorway, really tones it down. So I think it is going to be a lovely pair, a lovely sweater. I won't lie, I was inspired by a project page I saw on Ravelry. Her profile is True Lane. I don't know if she mentions her name or not, but anyway, I got inspired by her project, so I chose the same yarn and the same colorways. Like I said, I'm not used to this bright red, but I think this is going to be a really lovely Christmas sweater. I've already knitted a swatch. Let me get it. I have two balls of yarn attached to my swatch, so I think this is going to be confusing for me. But I have it pinned to a blocking mat. This is still unblocked. I still have to block it, but there wasn't enough time to block and have it dry before I had to record the podcast. So this is still unblocked. I just have it pinned to a blocking mat to make things easier here to show in front of the camera. But this is the swatch I have. I knitted this using a... Is this the one? Because I have two swatches. Yeah. The needle size recommended for this pattern is a 4mm. I am pretty tight knitter, so I sized up my needles. This is a 4.5mm needles that I use for this swatch. And can you see, let me show you really up close. Can you see some weird looking stitches? Some of the stitches, especially when looking at the bright red stripes, they don't look really neat. So I'm not really in love with this swatch. And now, oh no. I just realized that I swatched flat. Oh boy. I can't believe I did that. Anyway, this is knitting around and I just realized I swatched flat, but well, since I have this done and I have a finished swatch, I will just go ahead and block this and see what happens. While I work on a second swatch, or a third swatch I should say, because I have a second one here that I will show you next. But I wasn't really a fan of this stitch definition here. Yeah, some stitches look really weird. They don't look very neat. So I sized down my needles to the recommended needles and knitted a second swatch with 2 other balls attached. Oh, this is a whole thing. But this is a swatch with a 4mm needle, which is actually the recommended needle size for this yarn, and I'm really happy with this. Way happier with this. This is also still unblocked, also knitted flat, but well, that's life. I will also go ahead and block this and see what happens, but I am way happier with the stitch definition I got with this one. The stitches look way better and way neater. So yeah, I'm just going to keep this needle size, but I was off gauge when I knitted with a 4.5mm, so now I'm even more off gauge with a 4mm. But yeah, I'm just going to have to size up on the pattern and see what happens. I just hope I have enough yarn to knit up the entire sweater, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I still have to knit a third swatch in the round this time, but these are my plans for the near future. I want to cast on a accessory. I'm thinking about a scarf or a shawl, something like that. A neck accessory of sorts, but this is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss out on any future videos. I post regular podcast episodes here on the channel every 2 weeks. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and until I see you next time, happy knitting. Bye!